Lesson 3-4, Example 2. Our objective is learning to write large numbers in scientific notation. Well, here is a number written in scientific notation. And there's kind of two parts to that scientific notation. The first part is this number here. And the number, this number right here is always going to be between 0 and 1. Or excuse me, 0 and 10. It's not going to be larger than 10. So anywhere between 0 and 10 is this number here. The number on this side is always a power of 10. And we see it as 10 to the third power. We could also think of that as 1,000. 10 to the third is the same as 1,000. So another way of writing this number would be 3 and 125 thousandths times 1,000. Not necessarily scientific notation. This would be scientific notation, but this would be another way of writing that number. And I can look at this as I was thinking that if this has 3 zeros, well, I know that I can move this decimal place over here because I'm multiplying and come up with 3,125. And this is another way of writing this number, which is another way of writing this number. All three of these are equivalent. They are the same thing. They're just different ways of writing the same number. This is scientific notation. This is called standard notation. And so we can go back and forth between these. I can write this number like this in scientific notation, or I could write it in standard notation. Well, let's look at a number here we have in standard notation, and let's think about how we would write this in scientific notation. Well, we know that in scientific notation, we're going to have a power of 10, and we're going to have some number that's between 0 and 10 on this side. So that's what we need to figure out. Well, our decimal place right now is here, at the end of that number, because it's exactly 6 million. So there is nothing going beyond it. So I'm just going to put my decimal place there, and I'm going to move it to, I'm going to look and see if I move it to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places, I end up with just 6, or 6 and 0 tenths, because this decimal place would be right here. And the power, because I moved that decimal place this direction 6 times, that is 10 to the 6th. If I were going to go and do this back in the reverse now, I know that if I have 6 and 0 tenths times 10 to the 6th, that is like saying 6 and 0 tenths times 10, and then there'll be 6 zeros, so to the million. And that also tells me 6 times 1 million is 6 million. So I can go back and forth from different directions. I can go from scientific to standard. I can go from standard to scientific by moving, by counting up the number of decimal places and thinking that that is that power there. So 6 going this way, so I have 6 times 10 to the 6th. I can double check that by taking it back to standard notation.